Hey guys, it's summer and I am excited to be planning for next year, and so I'm looking into a lot of different options. I'm looking from a very rough point of view, excited to have just finished up school, remembering what worked, what didn't work, and looking forward to next year. So specifically, this video is on what I'm going to use to teach my 7 to 12-year-olds. So I've got 3 kids who fall in that age group, and it's rough. I'm probably going to change things in this as time goes on, but I just want to gather the ideas and maybe show you some of the resources that I'm considering using if that might be helpful to you. So let's just jump into it. I think this might be a really long video, but it's going to be fun. So we're going to go over 6 different subjects. The 7th one is empty because I don't know what I'm going to do there, but 6 subjects that I have a clue that I'm going to do. We're going to cover science, US history, world history, the Constitution, math, and writing. Okay, let's get into it. For science this year, we use barium builders, and this one, which one is this? Is the scientific revolution. And so I am right now considering using the very next one in this series. It was good, it was organized. I didn't do very well at using the experiments because I'm just not good at that. And I don't even feel bad about that because I don't care that much. But they do have experiments. If you want to get into it with your kids and have an experiment, there's one in every single lesson. But I didn't do that. I'm thinking about doing that. It was very structured, and there's such a sense of satisfaction getting to the end of the year and saying we have completed that book. But I don't know that my kids feel that satisfied, and I'm not sure that they feel like they learned a ton. But maybe they did. At this age, we're mostly looking at exposure anyway, so they were exposed to a whole lot of new ideas. But keeping that in mind, next year, another possibility for science is this bad boy. It's a bulging box of books. Now, I've used it before as a part of my inspiration loop. I just kind of set it out and say, okay guys, you can look through these and whatever's interesting, you can just read it. And my kids do. They sit down and they just read it and they enjoy it and they're learning from it. It's great to be used that way, but I'm thinking this coming year, I may actually use this whole box as my spine. And I'm just going to read some of the different names of these books in here. We've got Angry Animals, Blood, Bones, and Body Bits, gross, Bulging Brains, Chemical Chaos, Deadly Diseases, Disgusting Digestion, Evolve or Die, Fatal Forces, Fight or Flight, The Frightening Light, Killer Energy, Microscopic Monsters, Nasty Nature, Painful Poison, Vicious Vegetation, Ugly Bugs, The Terrible Truth About Time, Space, Stars, and Slimy Aliens, Sounds Dreadful, and Shocking Electricity. So they cover a lot of different subjects in there. And I'm thinking about just having this as something that I can bring out and say, which book do you want to look at? Or everybody can just get out their own book, and then we'll sort of look at it individually and see what's interesting. As far as exposure when it comes to science, this might be my best bet. So I've got that as one of the options. I don't know exactly what we're going to do for science, but those are my 2 options I'm looking at right now. For US history, last year we used the American history stories and it was really good. I really liked it. And coming off of that, I looked in that same series, or I don't know if it's the same series, but it's Libraries of Hope. And in the Freedom series, there's a book called The Stories of Great Americans. And I think maybe we will read that for our US history. I'm still open to the idea of different things. Specifically, I have this tome. It's called The Heritage of America, and it's just filled with stories written by Americans. I just randomly opened it. Nellie Thomas recalls her grandfather's plantation in South Carolina. Mark Twain learns to be a pilot. Andrew Jackson routs the Redcoats. Lots and lots of historical stories in here. I think I'd rather read this one, but that's because that's what I'm interested in. I have to think about if it's good for my 7 to 12-year-old. But I really do like this book as far as having a really well-rounded stories to tell about America. So when it comes to world history, I don't know that I've found the answer, but there is a world history storybook series where you just read 1 story per day for the entire year from Libraries of Hope. I haven't used that before. I don't know if it's going to be a great sell for my kids. I'll have to look into it and see if I want to pursue that. But I do know that I want to use some more atlases this year. I've used some of these in my inspiration loop in past years, but I think I want to use them more on purpose and going through it in an orderly manner. And so I've got Prisoners of Geography, Our World Explained in 12 Simple Maps, and Children Just Like Me, New Celebration of Children Around the World. And these are just atlases And then of course I've got Usborne Big Picture Atlas. I want them to have more of a visual experience when it comes to world history than I really offered them this last year, that it was really focused on stories, which are good, but I do want to incorporate more than just stories. So I want to make sure that this is a part of my written, stated plan. Make sure you get out the atlas when you're going to do whatever world history stories we're talking about. I also am considering reading the Cousins books, which is an enormous series of books all about my little Jewish cousin, my little Indian cousin, my little, I don't even know, like all over the world, my little Irish cousin, all of them. And it's just a story of kids living in their native land and kind of what they do on a regular day. Maybe a little adventure, but mostly just kind of daily living, so that you can get to know kids and get to know kids from all over the world and see really how much we have in common. And also highlight some of the differences, because that's fascinating as well, that we're not all just carbon copies of each other, that we have things that are different. So we read a couple of the Cousins books this year, and you can find the Cousins books for free on Libraries of Hope. She has that whole series for free, and she's just broken it up into, she's divided world history into 12 different segments throughout the year. And so if you're looking for Irish cousins, and you just go to the month that she studies Ireland on, and it'll be in there. So I'm thinking about using that as our spine as well. So that and the atlases might be a really great way to go across world history. Haven't decided, but that's okay. All of this is haven't decided. This is just the ideas that I'm gathering up, so that as I get closer and closer, I can pull them out and feel like that's the one that we're going to really focus on this year. Okay, one of the subjects that we study every single year is Constitution. And although I do want them to understand the legislative branches, the first article, and the second is executive, and the third is judicial, and the fourth is states, and the fifth is, I don't remember what the fifth is right now, but I want them to know all of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I'm not as interested in that as I am them understanding what freedom means, what liberty means, and how we need to live to be a free people. Because it's not all about the laws. Most of freedom comes from understanding what your duties are and fulfilling those duties, because your freedoms are my duties. Your right to free speech is protected by my duty to be tolerant and to allow opinions that are different from my own. So it's my self-control in not freaking out at other people who disagree with me that allows for your rights. And so that goes, everybody has a right, and it's everybody else's duty to allow that right and to create that right through our own self-control. I need to teach my kids that. That's a really important concept, that we do have liberty, but it is all contingent on our self-control that enables everybody to have the liberty. And I don't know that I did a great job teaching that this year, so as a result, I have a lot of stuff that I'm looking at this coming year. Obviously, I can't do all of these, but I'm just looking at them as possibilities of how can I really teach this concept very well to my kids. So the first one, the United States Constitution Made Easy. I gotta be honest, I don't know that I've ever read this one. I don't know if it's good. I'm going to have to go through it and make sure that it is a good book to teach my kids, that it not only teaches truths, but it teaches them in an understandable way. But that's one possibility. I have 2 books from Chris Ann Hall. She was a lawyer, and as she went through and received her training to be a lawyer, she was appalled at the total lack of reference to the Constitution when she was receiving her education. You're supposed to be defending the Constitution as a lawyer, or at least working within the strictures of the Constitution, and they just didn't spend very much time at all talking about it. And so she felt like this was a major problem, and she also felt like there was a problem with the lawyers in general were not in line with the Constitution because they don't know what it is, because they don't study it. I'm not saying that lawyers are bad. I'm just saying understanding the Constitution is important, not just for lawyers, but for everybody. She happened to be a lawyer, and she wrote these books, Sovereign Duty, and this second one is Essential Stories for Junior Patriots. These ones are okay. I just don't feel like they're really engaging for kids. They don't necessarily feel like they really understand what's going on. And so I don't know, maybe I'll incorporate some of them, but I do like what she brings to the table. The next one is called Promises of the Constitution. I've talked about this one before. It's got really little stories in here. Basically, you read 1, maybe 2 every single day, and it gives you the history of the United States, the point of the Constitution. I also like Founders and Prophets because it talks about, well, this one is actually very focused on LDS, because the prophets they're talking about are modern day prophets. And the quotes that they have talking about freedom and how important it is to live a free life, not only for ourselves, but for other people, and living the principles of freedom. So he breaks it down into 12 different principles of freedom, and each one of the principles has a story from history, and then an example today, and then, prophets' quotes about that freedom, and an idea of what we can do to be able to live that principle today. I like this book, but we've just done it recently, so I don't know that that's a good choice for us. There are also a couple of different books on Libraries of Hope. One of them is called Stories of the Government, and it's got a couple different books inside that spine. And I'm thinking maybe we'll do that one and couple it with some field trips, like to Williamsburg and to DC and to maybe Pennsylvania, maybe Boston, be able to just go see these places that we're reading about. And that, I think, that's where I'm leaning most heavily. And I think that's the best way to get this education across, is we're on the Eastern Seaboard. We can absolutely go see these places where these great historical things took place, and then let it sink in a more visceral way. And that's just such a great advantage that we have living here. So that's what I'm thinking we're probably going to be doing for Constitution Studies this year. Okay guys, almost done. For math, we're just not going to rock the boat because we did Math UC last year with all 3 of my kids age 7 to 12. They all loved it. They all did really well in it. We're just going to, move them on to the next level higher and have them continue doing that because it was just a really painless, successful way for them to learn math. So that was a win. We're going to just keep doing that for them. And in that same vein of set it and forget it, we used The Good and the Beautiful Handwriting this last year. I think for 2 years now we've used it. And it was just so easy. The kids are learning how to write. They're learning how to write cursive. They are picking up the skills of writing and the confidence of writing. My younger ones are actually way more confident than my 12-year-old. I didn't do as much with him when he was younger. I regret that now. I'm trying to make up for lost time. And we're just going to keep doing this. It was a really big success last year and the year before. They just write a page of it while I'm reading the family read to them, and that's what they do for handwriting. And it is really helping. The more consistently I do it, the younger ages, the better it is. But even the ones that I've messed up on, I feel like we can recover from that if we just put a little bit of effort into it at this point and just keep writing. When it comes to family read, this is our last one. And I put it last because I don't know. I'm not sure what we're going to do for family read. This last year, basically, I looked at my bookshelf because I have it organized according to the Libraries of Hope organization. And so each month covers a specific nature idea, it covers a specific US history, and it covers a specific world history, and it's just divided up very nicely. So I just look at it and I say, these are our January books. And I don't even have to go looking around. This shelf is January, and that's done. And so all I did is I went shopping on my bookshelf and I said, well, for that month, I'm going to pull this book and this book and this book. And that's how I chose our family reads. I don't really want to do that this year. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I know that Marlene Peterson on Libraries of Hope has some classic literature for young kids, but I looked at it and it's like Beowulf and Robinson Crusoe and things that I think that my 12-year-old can handle, but my 7-year-old cannot. And so I don't know. I haven't quite decided what we're going to do on Family Read. I'm just planning on inspiration striking me, and we'll find some amazing books, and that inspiration might actually be you. So if you have great ideas, will you stick it in the comments? And that's basically what I'm going to do for Family Read. I haven't decided yet, but we'll get there. It'll work itself out. And that is a lot of what we do during the summer. Things work themselves out as we go along. So this is a lot of information, and it's probably even going to change as time goes on. But I feel good having gathered it and having a pretty good idea of what we're going to do going forward in these core subjects. And even in, some of the field trips, I have another video on the field trips and stuff that we're going to do, so that I feel like that's planned and we can just really relax and have a really great summer. I hope this helps. You are doing such important things. It just really, really matters to be a mom and a dad today. That is the most important thing that you can be doing and the most impact you could possibly be having. And you're doing a much better job at it than you think you are. Keep it up. We really, really, everybody needs moms and dads. It's really important. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks.